Hey everybody, we're just going to jump right into it today. A lot of people have been asking why I don't like Equinox, why I complain about it, and I don't just want to be the guy that complains about things. I want to explain my thought process here and maybe propose some solutions. So specifically on Equinox here, this was designed around the breakthrough mode where you capture some sort of central point and then you have to capture one of the opposing team's points. One of the things I don't like about Equinox is the fact that it's easy to spawn camp, right? So you know that you're going to spawn back here. The team can post up on this bridge here and pretty much catch you wherever you're going to come out. And so it makes it very difficult, and you can kind of get steamrolled very quickly because of the way that this is situated. The other thing I want to talk about is paths to action, I guess is the best way I can describe it. So really, you're going to start either at A or C, that's your initial spawn. And then the path to action is either going to be where that heavy spawning inside this room or out to B here, right? So from this point, there's really only two ways you can go. You can go this way, you can go this way, and what happens is you get people just stacking up here, kind of watching this door, or you get people, oh, where did I go? I got lost, yeah. Or you get people stacking up out here. And it's the same, because this map is symmetrical, it's basically the same for either side, but you get people stacking up here, and sometimes you'll get a, depending on the game mode, you get a heavy spawn out here. So you'll get people basically camping up here and picking people off as they head out to the heavy. But really, in my mind, because there's only a couple paths to the action, it makes for a very slow and kind of stale gameplay, right? I know there's little doors on the side here, but really, for the most part, you only have two specific paths that you need to watch, especially if you're up on one of these bridges. You're basically watching here, and you're watching out here, and so people just kind of camp specific spots and don't really force the action unless you're forcing through this central area and across to the enemy spot. So you force through here, maybe you win this battle at this doorway, you pick up the heavy, people are respawning on their side, and suddenly you're the one on the bridge camping them and killing them as they come through here. So again, those are my thoughts on Equinox. Is basically limited paths to action and the ease that it has for spawn camping. That's why I don't like this map. It's hard for me to explain during gameplay, but I wanted to give you my thoughts on that. Now let's talk about some other maps that I like and don't like, and we'll take some of these concepts and expound on them further. So the Citadel was also designed around the breakthrough mode, where you capture a central point and then push to the outside opponent's control point and capture, try to win. But I think they did a much better job with this one on having multiple paths to the points of action on the outside. So you have this area here. They can circle around back behind here. You can come in through the side door here. You got to worry about this here. And then all the way around the outside, they could circle this way. So lots of different paths to get to those specific points. When you're in the middle, of course, there's this path moving to this direction here. You have the inside path through this central, like, cathedral area. And then you have this path over here. So again, multiple paths to the points of action. And whether or not it's control or clash, you'll typically find that the action is either concentrated around this central area or on the outside points. And of course, you have your heavy spawn back over there, right? So having a map that has multiple paths to get to a specific point is very beneficial. It prevents people from camping. Even if you spawn back here and you have enemies in this area, there is an escape path out this back area here. So different from Equinox, there is a way that you can get out and get away from enemies who may be camping in your specific capture point area. So I feel like they did a really good job on this one, thinking about how do you get from point A to point B, giving the players multiple options in order to accomplish the same goal. So now we're on Emperor's Respite, and this is one that I tended to complain about a bit when it was heavy in the rotation, because especially when it's control, it very much favors the team that has this A initial spawn. You have a much quicker path to B, much easier to defend because people are going to have to jump across here, very focused lanes, and so there's very little that you needed to worry about. Now they've moved the B control point outside, which I think is a better situation here, because now from a paths to action standpoint, you have one here, you have one here, and you have one here. So you're not just easily defending and holding down a specific point, and the path for each team to get to this control point is a little bit better. So it's good job on Bungie for recognizing that and knowing that they needed to change the point there. Now when you're on this inside spawn and you're controlling C, we can see C is right here. C is a bit closer to the action now. And we have one path here, we have one path here, we have one path here. So 3 paths to the action points. And these typically hold true in Clash or in something like Countdown, because the countdown spots are typically on control points. So you want to have multiple paths to the points of action. Make sure that the teams can't just camp. And I would consider anything a path is something that you can't see when you're not aiming down scope. So if I'm looking here, I can kind of control both of these paths just by not aiming down sights and kind of seeing what's happening in these specific paths. So good job again on Bungie to recognize that they needed to change something up here and make it a bit more accessible for both teams and not favor one spawn over the other. Previously, when you had a spawn, or I'm sorry, a control point here, it's very easy for the A team to get over here, throw up a shield barrier so you don't have to worry about that path to action. You capture this control point, and then really from there on, you're just holding this one, and you're holding these over here, and you could basically control both of these access points just from one spot here. So those are my thoughts on Emperor's Respite. Let's talk about one that I really like here. So the Burnout has been long a fan favorite. Burnout, Burning Shrine. It was in D1, it's back here in D2, and I think it has multiple things that make a good map. So here you have the A capture point, you have this path, you have this path, you have this path. So 3 different paths to get to the capture point. And in addition to having multiple paths to the different capture points, so again, you have path 1 that we're going through right now, you have path 2, you have path 3, and then when you're over at B, again, multiple paths. So you have path 1 we're going through right now, you have path 2 out here, you have path 3 out here. The other thing that Burning Shrine has is multiple elevations. So you have these different platforms that you can stand on, both inside and outside, and the ceilings are high enough that you can take advantage of jumping around corners. If you're a warlock, you can kind of float around corners, bait people to come around. So it really amps up the action when you give people a lot of different opportunities to use a lot of different skills, different paths, be sneaky, bait people. So lots of great design elements in this map, and that's what I think makes this one better than others. So the triangular shape also is nice because you don't have a straight line path from control point to control point. You don't have people congested around one central point trying to get from point A to point C. So the triangular path means that you give people multiple options. If you spawn at C, are you going to push B? Are you going to push A? And then if you push A, you have 3 different paths you can take. If you're going to push B, you have 3 different paths you can take. So lots of different options, lots of different elevations. That's what makes this a great map in my estimation. So I don't just want to be the guy that points out problems. I'd also like to be able to propose solutions here. So there's 2 things that you could potentially do to fix Equinox in my estimation. One would be to provide a 3rd path from A to C. So that might require quite a bit of design work to get something to go back from this area, back through behind this wall, and back over there. Honestly, probably more work than it's worth, and it would make the map even bigger than it already is. Another solution that I think might be a bit more realistic and not take quite as much design work would be to provide a way on each spawn area to get from back here out into the action area. And now Vex teleporters and the man cannons that are typically associated with Cabal wouldn't really fit from a design or lore standpoint, but there are those boosters that get you up the, I guess it's called the Spire, right? When you're in Trials of the Nine. If you could put one of those in there that was essentially blast you out to this area, so you could get past the people. Oh, let me get it back here. So you could get past the people who are camping on this spot and watching your spawn location. Essentially, you just need a doorway somewhere in this wall that you could blast through and get out to this location, get you to safety, get you to a different path to action. So instead of just allowing enemies to camp, you could essentially turn these things into boosters. You jump into this thing and it shoots you up through here, out through this direction and outside, and suddenly the people that are camping your spawn point are surprised. They have more to watch than just this specific location. They're not trapping you and chaining supers as you try to come out of this area. So those are my thoughts on map design and specifically about Equinox. I know a lot of people always ask why I don't like this one, so I hope I explained that well. If you have additional questions or if you have thoughts on map designs, some that you like, maybe from D2 or even D1, throw those in the comments. I'd be interested to know what you think. Thanks for watching. We'll get back to weapon reviews in the next video.